Sure. Okay, in this presentation, I'm going to talk about creativity and thinking out of the box. It is really necessary not only for your business but also for day-to-day life. For example, whatever you do in your life, you need to add some colors to that to make it more interesting and attractive. But the first question that crosses a lot of people, the minds of a lot of people, is that does it refer to our nature or our nurture? This is the same question which actually comes up in many situations. But the answer is that 80% of our intelligence, let's say, is relevant to our upbringing and environment, and just 20% of that pertinent to our genes. For giving an example about this topic, I can tell you that, for example, in the primary school, there was an experiment that students have been asked about their creativity, and 90% of students announced that they know themselves, or let's say they consider themselves creative and intelligent. But in the, let's say, high school, only 5 or 10% of students consider themselves creative. So it reveals to us that something was wrong in their upbringing and environment. And the older you get, actually, the less intelligent you are. And I uploaded a picture in the Telegram group, and as you saw, when you get older, you have some restrictions in your mind, you have some confinement, which actually stops you from making new ideas and generating new ideas, which is really harmful to your creativity. And also, there was a question which is really, let's say, famous these days. There were 9 dots, and some people were asked to connect them with straight lines. And as you saw in the pictures, children were able to find the answers, but adults couldn't do that because they had some restrictions in their mind, because they just wanted to connect 2 dots with straight, let's say, lines without breaking them after the lines or in the middle of 2 dots. And another question which is important and actually cross some people's mind is that creativity doesn't refer to one hemisphere specifically. And when you want to generate a new idea, you need to actually get help from both hemispheres simultaneously. And another point that I want to talk about is about dorsolateral prefrontal cortex. That's a part of our brain, and it filters whatever crosses our mind. And for example, when you want to do something in some rash things or making rash decisions, it filters those actions, and it somehow stabilizes your all of your deeds. It stabilizes it. And let me give you some solutions for improving, or let's say boosting, your creativity. First one is it's a good idea to add some colors to your life. For example, you can change the way through which you go to your work or school or somewhere you go every day. And also you can change your clothing. These tiny points are really important for boosting our creativity. And do not stick to routines and monotonous lifestyle. And another interesting point is that thinking about problems at night is really helpful and beneficial, because when you sleep, your imagination goes beyond its boundaries. And sometimes you see that if you, for example, think about some of your problems that you're dealing with in your day-to-day life, at night after sleeping, you can find some solutions after waking up. And also, there are other points which would help you. Try to be relaxed, practice meditation. When you are under pressure and you are in stress, you cannot creative or generate new ideas. And don't be afraid to take risks. Children can be creative because they are never fearful of doing something new. They climb trees and they do a lot of crazy things without any fear. That's why they are creative. And as the last point, stop criticizing yourself. We can see that some people are perfectionists. They are always nagging about their performance, and they are not satisfied with their own lives. So as a result, they are criticizing themselves. So they are not happy. They are not satisfied. They are not at rest to make new ideas. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much.
Thank you so much.
Enjoying it.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Okay, so any correction, any feedback?
Okay,
Yeah.
the answer.
Answer?
The
answer.
yeah.
Connected in a connected way.
Yeah, exactly. And the next thing that I want to mention is not wrong, but actually Sasan used its British pronunciation, adult. Yeah,
Yeah,
it is not wrong. Yeah, but
you made this point in the previous session. He just
Exactly.
gave.
I tried to say adults. I didn't.
No, you said adult.
adult. And the next thing is connect.
What did he say?
Actually, in one time he said connect, and after that he said connect.
Well,
I was confused.
Yeah, I didn't notice that. I didn't catch it. But anyway,
The first one is correct. Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah, connect.
Exactly.
And anything else?
That's it. Thank you.
Why didn't you refer to business again? Actually, he said business.
Okay.
Yeah,
because
at
was trying
that
to.
time, you know, I said to myself, "Oh, Arash is going to just raise this point about business." But anyway, yeah.
I just wanted to actually figure it out what he's saying about his lecture.
Okay. Thank you, Arash. Anybody else?
You're welcome.
But I have a feedback
Sure.
in there. He said something about using color in your life and meditate and don't criticize yourself. These are related to dopamine, because using colors can raise your dopamine in your mind, and meditation can do that. And when you have enough dopamine, and you must know that most of dopamine is in our guts, in our stomach.
Yeah.
If you had, have a healthy gut, you can, have lots of dopamine, of course. And these days they say that your gut, your stomach is your second brain.
Yeah, that's right.
If you have a healthy gut, you can handle
Great
it.
information. Yeah, dopamine as the neurotransmitter, which is in charge of motivation and novelty, new things, and also just pushing you forward to take necessary action. Thank you.
It is in charge of, addiction.
Yeah, also addiction. Yeah. Okay. Any other point, Karim? Do you have any point to discuss, to share with us?
No, I don't have any idea.
Okay.
And I don't hear any mistake.
All right. So, Sasan, apart from my admiration, by the way, generate first syllable. And I think actually you have this problem because when I listened to your previous presentations, I didn't notice that actually you were making this mistake. But anyway, who doesn't? So generate first syllable.
You mean I had this mistake in the last presentation?
Yeah, when I was just editing that I noticed that I didn't actually detect it. Generate, the first syllable is stressed. And business, as I said, you said actually there was an experiment, and some of the students have been, when you refer to something in the past, you should use a simple past tense, not present perfect tense.
Sure.
And let me see. You said when you grow older, the older you get, the I don't know. You
less
said
intelligent
you
the less
are.
intelligent you are.
You are, but you should say you become. You become. Become is better, not you are. You see.
Sure.
Excuse me, I heard something. He said that for the first time, a lot of people, and then he said a lot of people. I maybe I'm making mistake.
Sasan, what do you remember what you said?
I don't remember. I wasn't completely. I didn't have maybe enough concentration, or I don't remember.
Yeah, I didn't detect anything about that, and I'm just checking my
Yeah,
notes.
you can listen to this.
Sure, later on. And let me see. Hemisphere. I think you mispronounced it, but the pronunciation, the first syllable is, let's say, receives the stress. Hemisphere.
Hemisphere, yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
And I think you said clothing. Clothing. It's clothing. I think. Clothing is it? Yeah. And the other point is that, do you know why children, when they get older, they grow old, actually they tend to lose their creativity? I mean, the level of
Is
creativity.
it a question?
Yeah.
Or that's a mistake?
No. Forget about the meaning. Here we are not just focusing on the form. We should primarily focus on the meaning,
Okay.
This is an intellectual activity.
About the reasons that...
Yeah. Why children, when they grow older, they tend to lose some part of their creativity, as you said, actually, in reference to the part drawing a straight line between the dots. So why is it the case?
I saw some videos and some documentaries maybe about this topic, and what I catched about your question is that when we get older, we have some more restrictions in our mind. For example, every adult thought that they can only make a line between two dots, and there is a restriction in their mind which doesn't exist in reality. And also, taking a risk is something else. Is another point.
Taking a risk. Do you know there? Because actually, your topic is purely neurologically oriented. When you get older, there is the two hemispheres of your brain become more lateralized or localized. It means that they get separated from each other. Particularly before the age of puberty, that is around 15, actually the two hemispheres are more related to each other, and the brain is more malleable or flexible. But when you step into puberty, and after that, actually the two hemispheres become more, let's say, disintegrated. And because of that, actually, it's difficult for you to just come up with novel ideas and, become more creative.
So, excuse me.
Yes.
You mean that they want to work separately, something like that?
Automatically happens. There is a layer between the two hemispheres which is called corpus callosum, and that corpus callosum actually goes thicker and thicker with the passage of time, particularly after puberty. I mean, after puberty is the critical period here. Even if you Google it, we have a critical period hypothesis, CPH, and after that's why actually it is more difficult for you to learn a second language or foreign language actually when you grow older and older. See?
Yeah, I think after age 9, it's become harder.
Yeah, around puberty there is controversy on this issue, but some scholars believe that actually puberty, physical puberty, actually is the critical period, and before that you can learn as many languages as you are exposed to, but after that it is difficult. It is really difficult for you. So if you have a child, it's better to just expose him or her to a language, and because actually there was a myth in the past that children should start learning a second or foreign language, actually, for example, after their puberty. But that was a misconception.
So I started my English at the age of 25. I don't know. So if I started at the age of 9, it was better, yes?
The sooner the better. The sooner.
And I have a question about our pronunciation. It seems that our pronunciation remained in our mind. And for example, about adults, they say again, or I make lots of mistake about my pronunciation. I don't know how we can correct it because they remains in our mind. You know,
This is technically referred to as fossilization. It means that they have been fossilized. So you need to just unlearn it. You know, sometimes unlearning is the best way to learn something. It means you need to break the rules. The best way to do that is to raise your consciousness, and with the help of some consciousness raising activities. For example, taking notes, highlighting, taking comments, making comments, leaving comments, reviewing them again and again. You know, this is a technical skill. You know, you need to unlearn something. Yes.
But during the lecture, you know, giving a lecture, as Sasan said, you know, there are lots of stress.
That's
You know,
okay.
after, can I give a solution?
Sure.
You know, I've had this problem maybe for a long time. For example, about different pronunciation points, and if you write them down on a paper and stick it on the wall in front of yourself, and looking at that paper every day, that would be really influential. You know, I've had corrected some of my long-term mistakes with the help of Dr. Harry's points and hints.
Yeah,
and
consciousness raising. Yeah. You need to raise the level of your consciousness to those mistakes and try to repeat them, you know, again and again. And the best way to raise your level of consciousness is through writing. Writing is the best, let's say, method, because, you know, English is not our mother tongue, or even actually it's not a second language in Iran, so it's not practiced outside this class. Generally, you need to just provide that exposure that is mechanical by nature.
Thank you very much.
You're welcome. So thank you for this chance. Sasan, I have this question for you. Do you think that any kind of creativity is good?
Any kind of creativity? Yeah, why not? Yeah, I don't see any negative points about
anybody
creativity.
else. Something else, you know, I want you not to just stick to the form. You know, you are responsible for the assigned topic. When we are talking about creativity, you need to do some research about it.
Would you please repeat your question?
Any type of creativity is authorized.
What?
Yeah, you know, some people have I've seen some people who just claim to be creative, but when I just take a look at their productivity, I notice that they just think that they are